We are live, I believe. Welcome to the We Are One podcast. My name is Ken. This is David. David is live in Australia, and it is 10:08. David, is that correct?
Correct. Good morning, everyone. Good morning from South Australia.
Yep. So if you're watching this taped, this is the 14th. We had a Friday the 13th yesterday, which is an interesting day here. It is 8:38 p.m. and David's in the morning again on Sunday. So welcome to the We Are One podcast. Dave and I are going to talk about some synchronicity stuff, maybe some history stuff. The first thing I was talking to David about was actually about Australia. So some of you guys are interested in the flat Earth conversations and some of the proofs or some of the questions that come up about why we think it's why we're being lied to, I guess. So the first thing I want to ask David is, I just asked you, but if you can reiterate, have you ever flown from South America from Australia?
No, I haven't been to America, full stop, to be honest. I've spent time in Europe, having flown from here, but not to America.
Okay.
Yourself?
Interesting story. When I was researching some of the flat Earth movement and the questions they had were about the maps, and I was watching a con man called Professor Dave. Hi Dave, if you're watching, you're a con man. We all know it. And the reason I say you're a con man isn't to slander you. It's because you have gone on record. I believe Austin Whitsitt got you on a recording saying that you actually don't do your own research and that you pay for it. So you're a con man. But anyway, long story short, and you're a jerk. But long story short, Mr. Professor Dave was talking about the flight patterns from Santiago, Chile to Melbourne, Australia, and said, well, you're an idiot if you believe in flat Earth because you can just go book a flight that will only take you, say, 8 hours to fly from Australia to South America. And like most people, I guess you're going to just take his word for it. But I'm not that kind of guy. So I actually went online and tried to book a flight from Santiago, Chile to Melbourne, Australia, or Sydney, Australia, I think it was. And I had it on my phone that I was recording all this. And it said 8.5 hours trip, which would have been correct if it was a globe-like situation. And as Professor Dave said, I went to click the next button to catch my seat to proceed. And the flight literally went from 8.5 or 9 hours to about 14 to 16 hours. Like it just changed. And I thought, well, that's interesting. What the hell just changed? And Qantas, I think, was the airline that was doing it. You were not able to fly. No longer had an 8-hour flight. 8-hour flight. So, when I was trying to pursue some of those research things, that was one of the things that really caught my attention. Like, wow, I wonder how many people actually tried to do this and or didn't try to do this and just took your word for it. So, I'll leave Dave alone now, but I've seen him on a few debates with David Weiss and with other people, and he's just a jerk. I mean, the truth doesn't have a narrative. The truth shouldn't have any emotion to it. I'm not sure why you'd be so upset if you knew that the Earth was the shape that we're being told, or the mileage we're being told. Why would you have so much emotional attachment to it? And I guess that's my whole point, talking with this guy. Dave, thoughts about anything I said?
Yeah, no, I agree with this. Certainly agree with your last point that it is easy to get caught up in emotion, and it should be just a opinion based and not start to get into basically giving each other a hell or calling out by names or whatever. It should just be a discussion, and you can agree to disagree. But to get personal and all that is just is unnecessary and immature. But and in terms of the actual flight path, well, one day I would like to give it a go. But it's an interesting story that you recount. And Qantas would have been that's our main flight carrier. So that's an interesting story you recount. And I wouldn't have expected to be 8 hours. I think 14 is sort of close to what I would have expected if I had to say top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised that it would take that long for that flight path. Interesting.
It's been a while. I could probably actually look it up again, but while we're talking, I'm not going to do that. I'll put it in the comments if anybody has any questions. What's that?
Yeah, well, you've got me interested now. I'm going to have to give it a go.
Yeah, but you got to actually pursue it. You have to actually put in some information. I didn't put my name in there, I don't believe, but I had to go to like the next step, the third or fourth step before I put my name in there. And everything just changed. And I was recording with my phone. I was like, I can't believe this shit. Like, how and why would and it was a Yahoo site. It wasn't even like it could have been a mistake from an airline or something. It was it was like Expedia, like a big knowledgeable site. And he was basically saying, oh, it's easy to book. You can go book your flight. It'll take you no problem at all. You can just, if you're going to go from here to here, look how far this is. There's no way that would be. And I'm like, okay, let me just look into it. And I did it, and it changed. It was like, oh, recalibrating. And I was like, what the hell is this? So, that's one of my stories for trying to find truth. And, whether the earth is flat, round, pear-shaped like Neil deGrasse Tyson says, or, whatever it is. I think a lot of people stop at trying to find answers, and they just take people's word for it. So we should do our own research. I guess
absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. Totally agree with that.
So our conversation and emails revolved a little bit around some synchronicities. You want to share any of your story experiences?
I mean, I've got plenty of them. I suppose not so much a synchronicity. I don't know if you saw the photos. I don't know if you were able to had to get on the spot the photos that I had sent through. May have seemed somewhat random. So I don't know whether you're going to be able to bring those up.
I didn't know there were photos attached to the.
Oh, sorry, the original. Email? I think the original email from yesterday.
Okay.
So I'll start to talk through that. Whether or not you can bring them up is probably not really.
Oh shit! Issue. You're right. I did. I saw it on my phone. My apologies.
Yep. No, that's okay. That's okay.
I can open them and share them as you're talking. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I suppose that the topics around manifestation and I suppose the idea that we can manifest our own reality and the power of thought and attention and so on. Now, whether or not you see it from a physics point of view, the quantum field theory, basically how everything is connected through a quantum field and of energy, or whether you take the sort of spiritual approach of non-duality and we're all one essentially, so therefore we can not manipulate, but influence and connect with everything. So I came across, and I have to admit, I can't remember where I saw this, but it was somewhere on YouTube, a simple experiment.
Okay.
And what it involved, and this is, I think I did it earlier last year, is you get 3 separate containers. And this is all about being an experiment. You need to obviously, follow those instructions pretty carefully. 3 separate containers, which is what I did, 3 plastic containers, put rice, an equal amount of rice in each one. Then you add an equal amount of water, not a lot, just enough to essentially moisten the rice, cover the container, put them away somewhere out of, heat or light or whatever, cool conditions, or, ambient conditions. And now this is going to sound strange, but we're on, we're here to talk about whatever.
Yep.
So each container, basically every day, generally every day, if not every second day, you take one container and you communicate with it. You talk to it as if, in that the one will be love. So you'll talk to it as, so that's H, that's hate. So one container is about love, where you talk to it and you say, basically say, look at, you're basically a beautiful part of the earth, you're great nourishment, you're perfect and all that. So you give it compliments. The other container of rice, you give it hate. You despise you're horrible, and you through your thought and your words, and it doesn't have to take long. That's the hate one. And the third container is a sort of a neutral. You just leave it alone. You don't do anything with it. Sounds strange, but you sort of see where this is coming when I finish the story. So, and you do that consistently for weeks, basically. And the idea is that through your thoughts and communication and your energy, you can affect the rice. It's organic material. You can affect it. After, well, for a few weeks, I saw no difference, no change. Thought, okay, that's whatever. I'll persist anyway. Over the course of time, and I would say after about a month, and it may not be so clear or obvious in the photo, but you'll see the L container, which is pretty much as it was when I put it in the container in the first time. Clean, clear, not affected. I wouldn't try and eat it necessarily, but you could look like you could eat it. The container with hate has gone off, and I'm pretty sure you can. Would you say that there's a difference between the two?
I can't tell what is the difference, to be honest. What am I?
Oh, you can't? In terms of color?
Well, I'm colorblind, so you're asking the wrong guy. But
oh, sorry.
I can see the difference in colors, but it's very. To me, it looks like the H1 may be darker, but for me to speculate is bad.
Okay, my apologies. So if anyone who's not colorblind, there is this one at the bottom is it's almost like an orangey brown, not too dark, but it's compared to the one that's on top is white. There's definitely a difference there. The one that was neutral, I don't have it in the photo, but it was similar to the one, the H. It did go off as well, and you could sort of smell it when you opened it too. Not bad, badly, but the one with the H and the neutral definitely went off. Whereas the one that was L or Love, as I said, was like the same as when you put it in the container originally. So now, whether or not that's just coincidence or whatever, but I was careful as much as I could be to keep the conditions the same for all containers. As I said, the theory is that basically manifestations we can impact, whether it's a fellow human being or plants or whatever, just through thought and intention. So I thought that was interesting, and it's a simple experiment you can do yourself. So
yeah, cool.
Anyone listening or anyone who wants to do something similar.
So what were so can you sum up what were the effects of what you saw, what you shared? Can you break that down for us?
In terms of the experiment?
In terms of the differences of those. For someone that's colorblind, I'm not able to tell.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So basically, so sorry. The one that is the rice in the hate and the neutral containers, the neutral, like I said, I don't have in the photo, when the rice went off, it was brown. It looked like it was starting to form some sort of, whether it's mold or I'm not sure, but it actually, as you'd expect, as one would expect with any food that's it's not in the fridge or anything like that, it actually started to go off and went a darker sort of brown orangey color. So that's what happened to the container that I would give hate messages to, and the one that I ignored, that rice basically looked like certainly not something that was edible. Whereas the one in the love container is perfectly white, clean. It looked like it was edible, and there was no signs of it going off. Essentially, it was as if it was almost protected. But that's my view. The love message, the message of support and encouragement, I gave it. It's not something you would normally do, talk to food, but it looked like it was definitely different. If you're not color blind, and if you had it in front of you, again,
you could see it and smell it.
Absolutely, 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, as I said, could be coincidence, could be somehow I might have managed to put less water in one than the other, but I just thought simple experiment which you could, maybe do yourself, and you could ask a family member or whatever to, give their opinion on the color if you happen to be colorblind.
Cool.
So yeah, I just thought it was an interesting little real experiment to do.
Have you done any other experiments aside from that one? Anything else you want to share, synchronistic wise?
Yeah, not experiment wise, but I suppose I did mention the first time that I suppose the first, call it a spiritual experience I had, was in my when I was I was probably low 20s. Can't remember exactly what age it was, 22, 23, and I think it was through study or some point I was under quite a lot of stress, and mind was full of whatever. And I just remember going to bed one night. This is at home, my parents, and I was starting to fall asleep, but I wasn't asleep, and I felt as if I was being lifted out of my bed. So actually physically lifted, particularly the upper part of my body, and I was starting to float above the bed, and then I must have fallen asleep or zonked out, and that was it. The next day, it sort of took me a while to remember what happened, but when I looked back and I thought, oh, that was weird. I was sure I was awake, but I was being lifted out of the bed. Now, at the time, this is in the 90s, so all things around astral projection, all that, it was not something that I knew a lot about, but I knew probably enough to look back and think that could well have been astral projection or astral flying, whatever you want to call it. So that was the first sort of thing that happened to me that I thought was interesting. And like I said before, I didn't go in there had any prior knowledge of that, but that was one thing that I've done. And I've had similar, probably more dreams of astral flying, but I'm not sure whether they're dreams and whether they're real. So I don't know if you've had anything similar to that yourself.
Yeah, it's hard to tell the difference, to be honest, about when you wake up, the things that you remember. Sometimes you have dreams. I've been sleeping very, very hard, very deep the last couple weeks, and I don't remember anything. And then sometimes I'll go through periods of time where I'll remember 3 or 4 dreams for the exact same night. When I went to the Spiritual Galactic Convention like 2 years ago, when I met Chad and Chris Sinatra, when I got back, the first night I got back, I had a synchronicity. I think I talked about it for a second, but basically my phone was off. It was a Galaxy. My phone was off. It was plugged in. And like at 2, I think I wrote down the time, but I have to look for it. At 2 something in the morning, the night I got back, it started playing Imagine Dragons' Bones. And that's an interesting song because it some of the words are, I have magic in my bones. And the song just started playing the chorus, like out of nowhere, like at 2 something in the morning. And it was like, I was like, what in the hell just started playing that song? And I was like, how did that, like the phone was just like off. It's not on, like Pandora wasn't in the background, like nothing.
Yeah.
And so some of those music synchronicities seem to happen, kind of crazily. I think it's a lot of electrical. I feel very electrical at some points in times. Right now, I have an electric car, and about 2 weeks ago, I drove it into to do an event for a school, and I got out of the car, went to the front of the school, and like 20 minutes later, I came back to the car, and the handle of my car, it's a Model S Tesla, so the handles go in. They go in, and when you go near it, the handles open. Well, all of the handles except for the handle that I was in popped out. So I'm like, what happened to my handle? Like this particular handle that I'm standing in front of didn't open, and it didn't open for, I don't know. It basically broke as I'm standing in front of it. And so I'm like, that's kind of weird. So I got it replaced. No earth-shattering, unbelievable thing there, but just an anomaly. Same car.
Absolutely.
Last week. The handle kept popping open, just popping open, and then the door kept popping open. So just the same door that I'm standing in front of kept popping open, and I was sitting there doing something in my garage for a minute, and I heard this chook, and I'm like, what the hell was that? And the door opened.
Yeah.
The door popped open, like it doesn't do that.
Wow.
The handle popped up, not the door open. So the door pops open. I shut the door opens again. I shut the door opens again. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, great, something else. So I can't drive it because it keeps popping open. So I said, you know what, forget it. I'm going to get in my car. I hit it and drive. Then I pulled the door handle shut and I could drive it. But the second I put it in park, the door pops open. So I'm like, somebody's messing with me, like in another dimension or something. So anyway, that happens. A few days later, the AC doesn't work. I'm driving in and the AC doesn't work for an hour drive. I'm sweating bullets going to a class, and I get there. I'm messing with it. I'm turning the car off and on. Like, there's no way this thing literally just broke from when I was, messing with the car to go into this class. And so I said, this is some bullshit. So I go to the class, come back, the AC works again. So, there's like a lot of electrical things that keep happening to me like that. And it's not that they're breaking. They can't fix themselves. Like, I mean, in my opinion, that could be a short, could be something, but it's not anything in particular. So I don't know. I think I'm electrically charged. My mom was very charged. I'll share one more story and then I'll let you talk.
Yeah, sure. No.
About that is when my mom passed away in 2007. Me and my mom was always an electrically charged person. She would always have issues. She could touch a computer and break it, like just by her magnetic personality, vibration, whatever. Well, it was well known in our family, obviously, but so we're at the funeral parlor, and me and my dad are sitting there in front of this funeral director, doing the plans for her and things like that. And she's already passed away, and it's like 2:00 in the middle of the day, sunny out, everything else, and all of a sudden the lights all go out. And I looked at my dad like that was. I mean, I asked the guy, I said, "Has this ever happened?" He's like, "No, never." I'm like, he goes, "Is it raining outside?" I go, "No, it's sunny. Like nothing's going on." I'm like, she shut the entire place down, like with electrically shorting it out. So, those kind of things seem to happen. And I know we live in an electric universe, so it's not like completely surprising, but, things seem to be weird at times, and I think it's cool to see synchronicities.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I do believe in all that. And, people talk about, spirits being able to work because obviously it's energy, right? So the ability to manipulate light, power, radios, and all that sort of thing. So you hear plenty of those sort of stories.
Have you ever seen the movie? Oh my God, what the hell is it called? White Noise.
White Noise? No, I don't think I have. Okay,
so it's about a guy who is talking through a radio to his dad. His dad's dead. And I think it was pretty famous. So anyway, these things always happen. These things have happened to me throughout my entire life. So I'm at the movies watching White Noise 2 with a friend of mine in Nashville. And we drove separate. And at that time, I had a phone look like this. It was, big and bulky and whatever. And we're leaving. I said, hey, let's go get something to eat after the movie. It was like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I said, so I pick up the phone to call him. And it says, I'm trying to dial his number. His name is Derek. And I hit the phone to call him. And, back then, someone's get a messed up signal or whatever. So I dial it and nothing happens. Like it says, the numbers are ticking 1 second, 2 seconds. I'm just listening, like waiting for it to click on. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be, all right, come on. So I'm looking at it like it's been like 10, 15 seconds.
Right.
And then I put it to my ear and I swear to the creator and everything else, I hear this shh, and I hear Ken, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? This is crazy. So I look at it like, what the hell is this? What like this is after the same movie about that, and it's said my name, and I'm like, what the hell, man? Like that's crazy. But it always seems to happen to me.
That's strange.
It wasn't even I had an instance where I was watching. This is back in like the late 90s, right? So the internet's there, AOL Online's there, and I'm sitting here in front of my computer watching a movie at my dad's house and my parents' house. My mom was still alive, my dad was still alive. So I put in a movie, and I put in I'm on ESPN's website, looking at sports, whatever it is, and it's dial up and nothing big. So I rented a movie. It was The Ring. So I pop in The Ring, and I push the button. This thing's playing. All of a sudden, there's a pop up on my computer, and it says The Ring. Pop-up. This is before pop-ups. There's no such thing as pop-ups on a site that I wasn't touching. I wasn't maneuvering anything. There was no malware, no nothing, and it pops up on ESPN's website. And I stopped the thing, and I'm like, this is. So these are the things that happen to me in my reality that I can't perspectualize. Like there's too many of these coincidences that if you combine them all, it just sounds like bullshit. It just sounds like it's not even possible that you're having the same person this many times, this many coincidences.
I agree, and I think not important things. I think it's probably happened to everyone, but whether or not you're open to see them and take note of them, you might not understand them, but to have an open mind, say, hold on, what's happened there, to see the sort of whether it's a trend or something. That's what I think is really interesting, is that we'll probably will receive it, and whether you believe it's messages from spirit guides or whatever, not everyone is open to sort of listen to them. So interesting stories. I mean, mine are sort of some of the other ones that I've had, which again in their own right probably nothing groundbreaking, but so I've got a little pad here so I can remember, because I've got my little journal here. But I've had the old situations where I talked to a cousin about one of my friends that I went to university with. I hadn't heard from him for years, and the very next day I get a text from that person that I haven't spoken to for years. The very next day. Then I was talking about music. One of my favourite singers is Chris Cornell from Soundgarden.
Oh, nice.
Chris, and he's some old metalhead and alternative. So I remember speaking to my daughter about. I sort of messaged or talked to Chris, as a sort of as a predecessor after he passed, unfortunately. And the very next day, my daughter mentions his name just completely randomly, like, she would never really mention his name. So I thought that was a bit interesting.
My friend actually just told me that the other he has interesting an interesting story about an orange on a beach coming when he was passed out or about to die, he feels like, and an orange washed on the ocean, as he was in heat exhaustion, and was like it gave him energy to find out where the hell he was, like down on the beach a mile away. Anyway, he doesn't necessarily believe in what the things that I see and believe, but he told me last week, he said, I had a dream that I was in the airport with my wife and we were in Denmark. He goes, never been in Denmark. Probably never thought about going to Denmark. He said, and then we couldn't get out of the airport. And he says he woke up and he was talking to his wife about it. And she never, he didn't tell her about it. And she mentioned, like, hey, I think I want to go to like Denmark or something. And he's like, holy shit, like I've never had a conversation with my wife about Denmark. And all of a sudden, the night after, I have and then he said he told his wife about it, after that. And he was like, that's crazy. Like, we never talked about it. Just those synchronistic vibrational information things that are just out there.
Yeah. I mean, I've had dreams of, like, only a few days ago, I had a random dream where all I remember seeing is a building covered in effectively fog, like just cloud. I got up that very morning and the weather was fog. We had fog everywhere. We don't have fog. I mean, probably a couple of times a year we might have fog because of the weather conditions, but we had fog that very morning. So that I had a dream about fog. So another random one, I was just at a sort of cafe and I pulled a bottle of water out and I looked at after drinking half of it, I looked at the date on the bottle. It was my birthday, not the year, but the day and the month of my birthday, and the time stamp was 11/11. So I had 11/11 in my birthday, which I thought was interesting little coincidence, maybe. The other one that it's not so much a synchronicity, and this is one of those, I suppose, where it's about memory, and you question your own memory and how well you can recollect things. So I had a situation where I'm pretty sure I ran into an ex-colleague, work colleague of mine at a bus stop. So I catch the bus to and from work. And I'm sure I spoke to this guy, nice guy who I used to work with years ago. Not a long conversation, but because we were on separate buses. And then a couple of weeks later, I'm pretty sure it was a couple of weeks later, I happened to be speaking to some other people at work who mentioned the name of this ex-work colleague. And they said something like, "Oh, it's unfortunate that he passed away." He passed away. I thought, "Oh, he passed away." And I said, "When?" I asked it when. He goes, "Oh," they go, "Oh, it's about 6 months ago." I'm going, 6 months ago, he passed away. And I'm absolutely convinced I spoke to him at the bus stop. Not a dream, right?
He was there.
For real, a few weeks ago. And I look back and think, oh, maybe I just got it wrong. Maybe I'm, you sort of time lapses and you think it was weeks ago, but it was actually months ago. But anyway, that was another thing that, I just was interesting whether or not it actually happened. I don't know, but.
Well, I'm gonna post this again. I think you can see that, right? That's my other synchronistic. Well, it's not synchronistic. It's one of those things that you just can't believe. So I'm driving down the road after dropping my son off at school in Savannah about 2 years ago, and I got it on video as well as I started to see it forming in my window from the dew. It was in my right the passenger window, and it actually just started forming and doing it. You can see the intricate details. Nothing was dripping off. It was like stuck.
Wow.
And I rolled the window down after I took pictures of it, and like it came back, and then about a day or two later, it just disappeared. It was gone, never came back. As intricate of detail as that is, so there's some stuff going on you can't even explain. I don't know what the hell it is. I've asked everyone. I asked Jason. Asked Jason Bashir. He thought it was some kind of a wheel thing. I asked Michelle Gibson, which we're actually I'm going to have her on the show again this week. So if you're a Michelle Gibson fan, she's phenomenal. I was just on with Rob and her talking about history and all the crazy things happening in history in this world and things like that. So if you guys have any questions for her, that'll be out. I'm not sure we'll do it live or not. Probably just going to record it, but she's awesome.
Look forward to that. That sounds great. That's an interesting little pattern. It's not something you would just, I don't know, invent out of the blue. You know what I'm saying? So it's sort of.
I have a feeling it was like some kind of a Gnostic symbol, but I'm not sure if it was Gnostic or not. Okay. I don't know. I have no idea. That crop circle, exactly.
Crop circle on your car window.
Yeah, I mean, Michelle thought the same thing. She was talking about crop circles, and she said it's like a crop circle, pattern. And I was like, I don't really know how to perspectualize that with how that happens, on a window that, and then it comes and then it goes. So it's not like
exactly.
I can make it happen. I don't think anybody could draw that, and if you could, you would most definitely have an issue, having it stay. Like it's not going to stay there. It's gonna drip. It's gonna, you can see the dew on there, and it stayed through that. That's the amazing part.
Exactly. It looks like if you didn't tell me the backstory, it looks like it's actually been almost engraved.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's almost like
but then it goes away
into the glass.
Yeah.
That's the sort of impression you get.
Yeah.
So
almost. Then the next dew storm happens, or then it's fogged up again, and the next 2 days later, and it's gone, and nothing wiped it away. It's just out of there.
That's really interesting.
Just some odd stuff that happens.
The other sort of one that I sort of health wise, I'll quickly recount as probably about 10 years ago or so, I suffered from a throat condition. It's a sort of a papilloma that I get in the voice box, and it's not curable. So it will affect my voice if I didn't get it operated on. So I had multiple operations to get rid of these papillomas, and I saw various ear, nose, and throat specialists, which to try and fix it. But again, it couldn't be cured apart from getting laser surgery. And eventually, I got into the name of a particular ENT specialist through my own research, and at the same time, randomly, my cousin came up to me and says, "Oh, I know you've got this condition. How about seeing? I've been recommended the name of this ENT specialist." It happened to be the same guy, exactly the same guy. And long story short, he did something quite unique. He used some modern techniques, and since then I've been fixed or cured. And this is for a condition that's supposed to have no cure,
No
particularly.
cure. Yeah.
So 10 years later, or probably 6 years later, it's been fine. And again, through this particular specialist who I got recommended, or one I did my own research and independently got the name of this guy. So yeah, to me that was call it a miracle, but it feels like a miracle to me, because otherwise I would have had to live with this condition the rest of my life.
That's pretty cool. Aaron Protocol says, "Nice to see you again, brother." Hey man, how's it going?
Aaron,
you guys have any particular stories or comments and y'all want a link, I'll shoot you a link. You can come join us.
Absolutely.
One of these days, or right now, or whatever you guys want to do. Let's see what else we got going on.
Thanks for dropping in. I suppose reincarnation was one of the topics I had.
Oh, he dropped off. Let's see if he comes back in. Reincarnation, yeah, he just died, and he's gonna hopefully come back pretty soon. So let's see what happens. Oh. Hey, there you go. You reincarnated. What happened? That was right on cue, man. That was pretty awesome.
This is what happens when you trust me with new apps. Press the wrong button, and I disappeared from the universe.
Bloody crazy. So
sorry about
that. No, you're good. What was the reincarnation thing you were bringing up?
Oh, just a general topic.
Oh, you want to know my opinion on reincarnation?
I'll be interested in I'm interested in your thoughts or protocol on.
Yeah, I think.
Do you believe it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's enough data to. If you've looked into it, it's very hard to disprove or have an open mind and say that it doesn't. All the kids having these crazy knowledge of stories and prior deaths and things where they have no. I mean, I guess you objectively, I could look at it and say, well, maybe they had access to a field or information, or somebody was speaking through them. That's absolutely possible. I got my own. I call it the Ken's paradox. Is if this is a reincarnated life, why is this the only one that we're focused on right now that we can remember being here presently living? Like, that would be the only thing that I probably can't explain well enough to say. But I do believe in reincarnation. I believe that we all have a choice. I believe potentially that we're not all the same. So, I guess if you have people who are not soul beings walking around, then their near-death experience will be different. Their reincarnation trap, whatever, might be different. Like, there are so many different layers to what we could be experiencing here, and we may be different. Honestly, why do we all think we have the same creator? I mean, that goes back to the same question of the Elohim and gods and gods with an S. We all say, well, there's either one God or there's many gods. But okay, so if there's more than one God, if there was more than one creator, I'm not talking about the Most High or the capital G, the beginning of the God, but we may be 100 generations of a separate creator. And so if you're making a creation and I make a creation and you make creation, then why would we think that we would have the same experiences either after death, in life, our experiences, our perspectives? Why would we think that? I mean, it's kind of ignorant to think that we would all have the same experiences or same NDEs. That's just my my perspective. We don't know anything, so
no, I totally agree. And do you think we, as some say, reincarnate in like soul groups? So we sort of have a general. Some say that's 6 or 12 or 8. Probably not. Numbers not that important, but basically, for example, in one life, your son might have been,
could have been your
your
father.
your father or mother, or who knows.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I mean, and if you entertain that, or you use that as a perspective, I'm not sure how you could say that you would be tricked, or it could be a trap if that's your perspective. Now, I'm not saying that anyone who believes in the soul trick or the soul trap would say that they have soul groups, but soul groups would definitely lean into the examples or the reasons, or whatever you might say, of reincarnation would be a choice, right? I mean, if you have the same soul groups, you're experiencing things the same way to learn lessons or learn perspective, or just to experience something a certain way, you would definitely think that your soul group would be a choice that you've chosen. It wouldn't be like a death sentence. I mean, even if your soul group was Damien Omen, I don't know if you watched those movies when you were little, like you had a little terrorist devil.
Remember.
I mean, I guess if you wanted to be tortured by your brother and he was, not a nice person, maybe that's something you could argue. But anyway, I think the soul group thing is definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
You seem to feel with connection to people.
Yeah. Look, for me, having been raised a Roman Catholic, and I suppose I still consider myself Catholic, but I met I would say even less than 5 years ago, maybe I would probably not even entertain the possibility of reincarnation, to be honest. And that's just upbringing, pure conditioning. You got the one life, got to get it right. If you don't get it right, if you haven't confessed to a priest, you go to hell. And that's just the way I was brought up. But through all the various, the journey been on and stories and my experiences, I'm much more open, and I would say I'm certainly much more on the side of reincarnation, and it just makes sense. Common sense would suggest that you get more than one chance. It's a you get different scenarios over time and different situations where you get to either be the protagonist or maybe a victim. I'm not saying necessarily would choose that, but you're just learning different things in different situations, and it's easy to say in theory, and I do think it makes sense. It's just that when you step back and actually, that getting through the ego to say, well, actually, yeah, I might have been my daughter's son in a previous life or something, and just actually be able to step back and to think how I could have been someone completely different in a different era. That's where it's sort of it's hard to fathom, but it probably was or is the case. So that's what I think is really interesting.
Yeah, and again, we obviously don't know anything, and we're ignorant enough to know that we're not going to find that answer most likely. So keep your eyes open. But I mean, I personally think that it's most likely, from my perspective right now, that we have a choice of having that. And there are many people here that don't want to come back to this realm. I don't know why you would say you wouldn't want to come back to a realm. I mean, if you think that you're being tricked, but that they're going to let you not come back, like that's kind of funny to me. Like you're tripping me, you're trapping me, but I'm not coming back. Well, if you're being trapped, you don't have a choice there, young man or young lady, So, and if you do have a choice, then why wouldn't you create something of a better situation for yourself and for everyone?
Right.
Like if there are infinite amount of worlds out there in realms, just because we're sharing this one doesn't mean you can't create one to say that's fine, but next time I'm going to go to one that has a much better situation, doesn't have a a predator prey situation. I've experienced that. Thank you very much, but no, thank you for the next one. And I'd like to experience more love in the world, and and situational improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, from what I've said and heard, this is one of the toughest gigs in the multiverse or whatever. So it can only get better, right? So you can only
It
work
could get
towards.
worse, but yeah, I wouldn't want to
Well, I
manifest
suppose.
that, or I wouldn't want to explore that option. Yeah.
Well, I suppose so. I suppose.
And for some people, it probably is extremely horrible. But
Yeah.
and for some
Yeah.
people, it might not be that bad either. I don't know if you've ever been on a
Correct.
cruise, or I've been on a few cruises to third world countries, and I certainly don't want to put words in people's mouths, but I've seen people begging for food with their families, with dogs, with cups, and honestly, again, I'm just telling you my perspective. If you're out there, don't judge me from not, being empathetic, but they don't look like they're very unhappy. They don't look like they're having a horrible experience, at least not the ones that I've seen. Now I'm sure that there are some that do that, but my point is, from the best, the best world, the best problem solution situation. You're rich, you live in Beverly Hills, or you live in America, or there are people who are much lower than you on that totem pole, and if they're not unhappy, why would we? I'm not going to assume that they're unhappy, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, I get it. Basically, our concept of the Western world general concept of wealth and accumulating capital and all that sort of stuff is the only path to happiness. I'm not saying that is, but I'm saying that's the way we're generally brought up.
The way to happiness.
Yeah, that's it. And it's easy to say when you're living in a sort of a fairly civilized country that we do that, to take that for granted. I'm not saying either of us do, but the more as the years go on, the more you realise is it is about the simple things in life, and having a basically good time with family and friends, and just appreciating each other, the simple things. So it's
and we have the illusion of free will for sure.
Yeah,
the illusion of free will is very very nice, very peaceful, very pleasing. I think that there's a lead in here. I guess I didn't mean to do it, but here we go. So if you want to talk about the Bible, or do you have any you were raised Catholic? Is that what you said, Christian?
Correct.
So what are your interpretations of the Bible? I mean, do you have? Do you think it's prophecy? Do you think it's that? What do you think now?
Well, yeah. I have to admit, I wouldn't say I've studied the Bible in any depth or anything, but I suppose and it's interesting you raised it, because I don't know whether you've seen a lot of things that Aaron Abkey has been posting in, even, I know over the years, but certainly in the last sort of couple of months or so, around the Gospel of Paul compared to the Gospel of the proper disciples, James and so on. And that's sort of, I found very interesting, because again, I've never had that perspective. I've only had the one perspective around the Bible, and despite what the church will say, I've never been the type that says, the Bible, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I certainly wouldn't. I've never been of the thought that it's the go-to for everything and anything, and everything in there is absolutely factual and have got to flow to the letter. I'm not. Again, respect for those that have that view, but I suppose I found Paul the Apostle. I found Aaron's in particular take on it in the last few months particularly absolutely fascinating, and I feel like I align with what he's saying.
I need to look into that, because Paul actually never met Jesus, so to write gospel, I don't have a clue. What was he saying about Paul and the Gospels?
Well, so and I probably won't be able to relate anyone as well as Aaron, obviously, but basically it was Paul that basically, I think, led the modern day, and I say modern day, the whole approach of the Catholic Church to say, you must basically confess to, we're all inherently, we're born inherently sinful and bad, right? That's why we we're born into this world, and we've got to confess our sins. And if we don't follow the path, if we commit sins, if we don't confess to the priest and church and so on, you're going to hell forever, and you only get one go at it. Essentially, that's essentially it's all the wrath, the spiteful God and the jealous God, and so on. And if you don't follow Christianity, by the way, there's no other religion. If you don't, this is the way it says. If you don't follow Christianity, and the way Aaron puts it was quite amusing, because he says if you're, I think, at best 25% at best of the world's population is, I think, some sort of domination of Christianity or Catholicism, probably more Christianity. So therefore, by definition, the devil's sitting there saying, I've got 3/4 of your beings over on my side. You've only got 1/4 God. That's the sort of Paul's view approach. And Aaron's saying, no, it's never been about that. It's about the simple principles of, love thy God and love your neighbor as yourself, essentially. And that's it. As long as you respect that and you treat people as you wish to be treated, that's what it's essentially all about. Simple as that. Not this spiteful, jealous, wrathful God that.
Well, I do believe there are two different gods of the Bible. I think the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament are two different gods. Yeah. And they certainly have many names. And I am not I'm certainly not somebody who has studied the Bible. I have studied the studier, I guess, and so I don't claim to know, but I do research on the, on the people who talk about it a lot, and are claimed to being experts. But I didn't know if you had any thoughts about prophecy or about some of the Sumerian stories that were translated or written in Greek into the Bible and taken as gospel, taken as canon.
No, not from the top of my head, unless there's anything more specific that you were referring to. But
most of the stories, the story of Moses, the story of
okay, that's what you're saying.
I'm having a brain issue right now. There's a lot going on.
Noah,
the baby going down. Those are not actually in Jesus's time. Those are Samaran times, and those, Horus is the original one. The story, the myth of stories about is Horus, and then it's given into 3 other people. The same exact story and the same exact details. And they talk about that a lot. So,
yeah. Look, I think that generally speaking, there's probably some truth to some of those stories. Now, whether or not it happened the way that the Bible records it, again, I don't necessarily think so. I think a lot of the stories will be, particularly that are written by on the more the Paul side, so to speak, are more to fit the narrative of a spiteful, wrathful God. I don't necessarily think that they're the kind of stories that I would just sort of take it,
take it literal
as exactly as it's written.
Yeah.
I think the important point that Aaron, not just Aaron, others will be saying is ultimately, and I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I regret being raised a Catholic and I hate the church, because I think there's a lot of good intention there, but at the same time, let's call out a lot of it's about control. And in terms on the behalf of the church is, if you've got your people are fearful about their, about what happens to them after they pass, then that's a hell of a lot of control you can have over someone to make sure that they go to the right side, so to speak.
Yeah, and you mentioned reincarnation. I wanted to bring this up. I guess I have a couple examples here. Let's see. This is some of the synchronicities in music right now. Some of the spirituality things going on. I'm a huge fan of Imagine Dragons, but I don't think it's a secret that the lead singer has said he sold his hold of the devil. and this is my favorite song right now. But I mean, it's kind of a weird song to have. I'm not sure if I can play this and still get it, but let's play a few seconds of it. This is called Eyes Closed. You can see him being.
I'm back from the dead, from the back of my head. Been gone and facing horrors that should never be said. The wrath and the grit from the pit of despair. Been taking every whip and word I've never been spared.
So this is about him actually dying and being resurrected, and basically saying that he can resurrect himself with his eyes closed, which is interesting song to say the least.
Yeah.
There's also another one. Let me present this one as well. This is another artist which people know. This is Eminem. The song is called Houdini. He actually is a rap song, and he does curse. So I think I've already cursed today. But anyway, so he basically is time traveling. His old self is reincarnating into this timeline, and they're kind of basically saying the same thing. Like, hey, I did it again. I'm like Houdini.
Okay.
I just keep coming back, and it's interesting. Like guess who got reincarnated again? No, it's me. It's Shady.
That's great.
That's interesting. And then there's another one that's really odd too. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was going to say, there's a couple of songs that I sort of immediately come to mind that we don't play them now, but I think Radiohead Pyramid Song is about reincarnation. I think.
Who's that? Rihanna.
Radiohead.
Oh, Radiohead. I don't know which one is that.
Yeah. I think it's called Pyramid Song. It's a little bit obscure, but I'm pretty sure it's about.
Pyramid Song?
From what it's a good song, Pyramid Song. So it's quite.
Okay, that's interesting. This is another one. This is a Justin Timberlake song. Seems to have sold his soul to the devil. This one is. Right. This is baffling. If you followed this guy's career, didn't he
get charged for drink?
He lost
drink
his
driving?
shit. What's that?
Didn't he just get charged for driving under the influence?
Probably. He's now in charge. Yeah. He's now a devil worshiper, apparently, according to the song. He says there's no more angels, and he's in this video. He's hooking.
Oh, there ain't no angels here.
So I'm not gonna play the songs and get busted off of this thing, and I don't really care about the money anyway, so it's not a big deal. But funny examples that these people are just continually throwing this stuff in your face, and we're supposed to just be like, oh, this is good entertainment. But there's actually another, there's a spiritual, it seems to be a spiritual, I don't know if it's a spiritual war, but spiritual movement for sure going on right now, and it's in a lot of songs from nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. As it comes to mind, I mean, there are, I listen to bands like Tool. I mentioned I'm a bit of a metalhead, and they've got some really interesting cerebral type songs around, for example, there's one called Reflection that is about sort of non-duality that, again, you might want to check out at some point. So I think it's going back years ago now. So they were into that sort of stuff long time ago.
What's the lady's name? What's the lady's name that has a non-duality channel? Do you know what I'm talking about? She's got a pretty decent YouTube channel. She's not huge. Is Michelle? Is that her name? Let me see if I can get to my subs to see what channel it is. Susan. I think it's Susan Non-Duality. I think that's her name.
Okay. I'm not familiar with.
Interesting, point of view. Somebody asked me if I had a take on her channel and what I thought. So I don't know if that person is still watching, watching me and doing this, but I didn't respond necessarily. But it's interesting. It's kind of basically saying that you don't really feel much when you get to a certain level of ego death, that you're just kind of here witnessing other people's emotions and things like that. It's I would say I feel that way sometimes if that person is asking me how I feel, but other times I feel like it's the same thing as the soul trap. Like, I let myself experience what I want to, but when I'm done feeling that, it's time to move on and keep enjoying what I'm doing, or at least trying to enjoy what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Ken. I suppose it sort of brings me back to a little bit to meditation, and again, not just I'm a deep meditator or I've got it nailed, but I think that ability to not attach, observe and witness one's own emotions. If I'm stressed or happy or whatever, or in others, and not get attached to it. It's easier said than done, but I think for me, through things like meditation and just being generally aware, is being able to manage that better, because I think just sort of I say attach or connected to, so that that doesn't become your your constant reality around what your emotions are.
It's easy
But
to get trapped in that, and you get stuck, and that's when I think
definitely
you waste precious time in your life. And that's my take. You're welcome to be there as long as you want to, but I think you should keep moving. Let's see if I can
absolutely
find her. This
yeah.
is her here. So this is her her channel. Her name is Suzanne Non-Duality.
Okay.
She just talks about her experiences, and there's people that share their experiences with her too.
For coming, everyone.
So she's very calm. She's a very calming voice. Very easy to listen to. Very
Nice.
meditative person. I recommend her channel if you're interested in that.
Yeah, thank you, and I'll check that out. Speaking of other sort of YouTube channels, I don't know if I mentioned last time, Ben Smith talks a lot about meditation. I think he's really good. Really, again, very calm, and very much pull things down to simple communication around about meditation and other similar topics, and continue to check out Next Level Soul podcast, and he's got an NDE channel now, Alex Ferrari.
Nice.
Obviously Chad's channel, Open Your Reality, and what else? I'm thinking other ones that Wisdom Nuggets is that other neat little channel I think comes up with daily nice messages around spirituality. So
it's good. It's good to share channels of ones that we enjoy or ones that we like. We seem to have common ones. Aaron Apke is great. I haven't watched him in a minute, but I need to probably look into some of the stuff you were talking about before.
Yeah, absolutely worth checking out. Rupert Spira is the other one that I think he's again very laid back and very calm approach. So I think he's good value too. But it's just keeping an eye open for what's next, basically.
Yeah, so. What you can create, what you can try to influence. Last topic. So I got a few minutes left before I have to go to bed. It's almost 10 o'clock here. I'm an early bird. I wake up like 5:36. But mention the Bible a little bit. What's that?
You're singing my tune. I'm the same. Creature of habit.
Yeah, early to bed, early to rise. I got a active chocolate lab and I almost said 6-year-old. Wow, 9-year-old. I'm not sure why I almost said 6-year-old, but the Bible and taking peace from the earth, something that that Jason Brashears mentioned about a week ago or so. He's on a spiritual thing, and I have some spiritual questions as well. What are your thoughts? When we talk about the second seal, I don't know much about it. I just heard the second seal is the one that takes peace from the earth. I had a thought basically that the only way that the earth could lose its peace and that people would actually lose their peace of perspective of hope was if it was revealed somehow that we were being watched and observed, that we had a governing God, and that they were like an archon or watchers watching us. I thought that if we were informed that we were at all times being watched, observed, there was nowhere to hide, I think that would be really disturbing to a lot of people. That would really take everyone's peace. I don't know how you can get around that, whether it's an alien thing or whether it's an archon thing, an AI thing. Like no matter what it is, even if it's not a God thing, even if it was like you're in China and they have all the facial recognition and they know where you are and they have a social credit, like you're not going to be you're not going to have too much hope. You're like, that's pretty much it for your life, right? I mean, what else could you enjoy from that? So that was my thought about that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I suppose I can't probably comment too much specifically on Archons and Watchers. I know you've opened up generally. So what comes to mind for me is I think that I'm open to sort of call it extraterrestrials, aliens. I do think there's a high chance, high possibility of one or more races observers. They see a bit of sort of soft disclosure around, the last couple of decades. There's been more witnessing and so on to an eventual, not that landing on the front of the White House type scenario necessarily, but where, from what I've seen, a lot of predictions are in the next even couple of years or sooner that's going to become more out in the open. So I do think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that there are. I don't think there's necessarily bad intent though. I think if there was a malicious intent, they would have.
We wouldn't be able to get around it. I mean, it would be stuck in our face.
Exactly. If they've been able to travel in, all that sort of stuff. So I think it's actually a good intent. So all those examples of where in the past you would have heard the stories about potentially missiles, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
All that sort of stuff. So I actually think, not to suggest there aren't more malicious entities out there, there potentially are, but I think if there are alien observers, I think it's with overall good intent to help guide humanity on the right path. So I'm not too concerned about that, to be honest. But in terms of other observers or watchers, I from a more spiritual point of view, I see it more from the point of view of more of our spirit guides, and that helping guide and support us again as individual souls or soul groups. I don't, it's probably as you will know, I'm not a firm believer in the soul trick or trap theory. That's my personal view. So I don't have a fear of some malicious form or entity that whether it's alien or spiritual, that we need to be too concerned on. But that's just my view. So
Fermi paradox, I mean, is a legitimate question. Although I think, if you're honest, if you're kind of honest with it, you could say, well, why would they not allow it? I mean, maybe they know that it would take peace from the earth and that people would not, they'd be done. I mean, can you imagine if we were disclosed, or that they disclosed that? I mean, I don't believe in aliens. I just don't. I believe on potentially other dimensional beings. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibilities. I just I don't know why I would entertain that. I mean, as far as the evidence that's out there, I think most of the SSP stuff, the secret space stuff, is like some kind of a frequency mind control. That's what I believe. I think it's technology, not necessarily that people have been transported to Saturn and Titan and worked there for 30 years. Like I'm not buying that. And I'm not saying people are lying about it. I just think that they've been, we can record dreams. I think that we can certainly have that as being a weapon of a frequency download into somebody's brain, especially if we're not all the same, if we don't have sovereignty over our own emotions, our own frequencies, our own thoughts. Absolutely. I mean, we don't hear about the insane asylums anymore. You used to hear, 30, 40 years ago when we were growing up, I think we're almost the same age. Like, used to hear about all the time, Sybil or split personalities or multiple personality disorders, psychopaths. They would say, I'm hearing voices. We don't have that anymore. Like, I don't hear that anymore in society. So, to me, that was right around the time of MK Ultra and that kind of stuff. And I think that they were experimenting on people. Absolutely. And that's my perspective, my theory of what was going on and why people think that they have been to outer space or they've been to another dimension, is because they've unlocked that weapon, and that's sad. In my opinion.
I have the same view in that regard. I hear a lot of those stories about people that believe that they've traveled to other galaxies or planets, and I certainly doubt that, but from my point of view, but But taking peace from the earth, I'm, not saying it's not possible, but I do think, generally speaking, there's a if there are any watchers, they generally
they seem to
don't
leave
have
us
a
alone.
bad
Hopefully,
intent. So
nice.
very good.
Well, again, I got an announcement. Michelle Gibson interview coming this week. I'll post the one that me and Rob and Michelle did probably tomorrow. I had computer problems for a long time and finally got stuff to download, and I'm able to take off their channels and kind of redo them, put them on mine. So with little snippets and things to talk about and to look at. But if you've been watching this, I appreciate it. We've had about 5-6 people on most of the time. We only got the one comment. That's okay. If you guys watch this and you leave comments later, I'll respond. David can check them as well and respond. David, any last signals? I appreciate you joining me. This was fun.
No, I want to thank you again, Ken, for the time, and really appreciate it. Really enjoyed the conversation, and thank you for anyone listening. And just peace, love, and light to you all. And I respect everyone's own opinions on all the topics we discussed. So let's continue in that spirit. So thank you again for your time.
Absolutely, man. All right, brother. Have a good Sunday. Enjoy it.
Yeah,
and we'll
thank
talk
you.
soon.
Yeah, have a good day tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Yep.
Good to see you. Bye-bye.